Chapter 152. In the crowd, Lan Chudi's whole body was purple as she shivered from the cold. However, her pair of beautiful eyes revealed an unyielding will. This kind of look was very similar to Yang Kai's, except that her eyes were much colder and less ruthless. Did I fail? Lan Chudi's heart was bitter. She was only at the Qi transformation stage 8th level, yet she was able to climb more than 3,000 steps. This kind of result was unheard of among the disciples of the three sections. What she relied on was the unyielding will in her heart and her desire to become stronger. But now she was sent down by an uncontrollable force. How could she be willing to accept this? Why was it like this? As long as I have enough time, I will definitely climb to the top. Why did I have to be sent down? Lan Chudai clenched her hands so tightly that her slender nails even penetrated the flesh of her palms. Pain was the only thing that could calm her down. Junior sister, are you okay? Hu Jiao noticed Lan Chudi's abnormality and asked with concern. Lan Chudai slowly shook her head. Her eyes drooped as a tear of unwillingness slid down her face. Yang Kai continued to move forward. In his eyes, there was only the peak of the clouds. He did not notice what was happening to the Hu sisters behind him. Not needing to worry about others, Yang Kai's speed suddenly increased. This was the place where the cold attribute energy rushed. Step by step, there was almost no rest. The cold attribute energy entered his body and was refined by the true Yang secret art. After a cycle, it was absorbed by the unyielding golden skeleton. After reaching the 500th step, the energy changed and Yang Kai's footsteps became faster. When the cold attribute energy entered his body, it needed to be dissolved. However, when it came to the Yang attribute energy, the process was much simpler. Step by step, he climbed the steps closer and closer to the top of the clouds. However, the pressure on his body also became stronger and stronger. Every time he climbed a step, the energy rushing into his body would increase by a lot. If not for Yang Kai's secret art and the large amount of Yang liquid stored in the Dantian, Yang Kai would not be able to be so calm. As he climbed higher and higher, Yang Kai faintly felt that something was wrong. This kind of test was indeed getting more and more difficult, but it was not to the extent that it would stop people. If it was really a test of inheritance, it should not be so simple. After thinking about it, Yang Kai unsealed the old demon in his body. Previously, the old demon had been very noisy, wholeheartedly tempting Yang Kai to use the Hu sisters' virgin bodies to cultivate evil martial skills. In a fit of anger, Yang Kai had sealed his soul and only released it now. As expected, the old demon didn't dare to mention it again. Yang Kai told the old demon about his doubts, but the old demon didn't know what to say. Yang Kai didn't want him to be noisy and affect his state of mind, so he sealed him up after asking. No matter what kind of test there was, as long as he reached that step, he would naturally be able to face it. It was useless to think too much about it now. Understanding this, Yang Kai's heart suddenly relaxed, and even his body became much more relaxed. It seemed that with the change in his state of mind, the test here had become much simpler. Climbing day after day, Yang Kai finally reached the top after resting 3 times. Surrounded by clouds and mist, it was as if he was in a fairyland. Looking back, all the steps he had taken so far were imprinted in his eyes, making Yang Kai suddenly feel like he was in a dream. In front of him, there were only 10 steps left. As long as he finished these 10 steps, he would reach the top. Lifting his foot, Yang Kai stepped forward. 9th step, 8th step, 7th step. In Yang Kai's mind, he recalled the joy of the first few days and the determination of the next few days. 6th step, 5th step, 4th step. Tracing back his memories, Yang Kai remembered the changes he had undergone after obtaining the wordless black book. 3rd step, 2nd step. The scene from 3 years ago also emerged, making Yang Kai's calm state of mind involuntarily stir up some waves. Kai Yang lifted his foot and stopped on the last step of the flight of stairs, pausing there. Only 1 step left and he would reach the clouds. However, Yang Kai did not dare to fall. He did not know why, but he always felt that if he maintained this state of mind, after this step, even if he did not die, he would be seriously injured. This was a kind of intuition. Taking a deep breath, silently circulating the true Yang secret art, Yang Kai maintained this posture, not moving at all. Feeling the breeze on his face, feeling the waves in his heart slowly calm down, the bits and pieces of memory once again calmed down. After an unknown amount of time, when Yang Kai opened his eyes again, there was no longer the slightest hesitation or fear in them, only determination. His foot stepped down. The world buzzed, and an invisible pressure suddenly fell on Yang Kai's body. This was a kind of pressure, the pressure of a monarch descending to the world. Yang Kai's body suddenly bent, his legs bent, almost kneeling on the ground. But when his knees were half a foot away from the ground, he stopped. Sweat instantly soaked his clothes, and his flesh was fiercely spasming, trembling and squirming. This pressure was not much worse than the pressure of the world he felt when he was cultivating the tempered body technique. However, it lacked a certain charm. If he really wanted to compare, the feeling he felt when he was cultivating the tempered body technique was stronger than this. That was the resistance of the world's shackles, but what he was facing now was a kind of pressure from a strong master. In the dark, Yang Kai felt as if there was an eye slowly opening in the sky, watching him. Slowly straightening his bent body, Yang Kai's forehead bulged with blue veins, and his face flushed red. As he resisted, the pressure he felt became stronger and stronger. A muffled groan came out, and the taste of blood filled his mouth. Yang Kai's body had already suffered some injuries. I can withstand the pressure of the world, let alone you, who is not the world. Yang Kai gritted his teeth, and his bones made a zheng-zheng sound. He slowly lifted his other foot, moved it little by little, and stepped toward the last step of the stairs. It seemed like only a moment, but it also seemed like thousands of years. When Yang Kai painstakingly put his feet on the last step of the stairs, his body finally straightened up. The pressure on his body suddenly lightened. At this moment, Yang Kai broke the invisible shackles. The huge amount of energy in the air fiercely poured into Yang Kai's body, and the Yuan Qi in his body surged. After a moment, Yang Kai smiled and wiped the corner of his mouth. Initial element realm level 8. Walking through these endless stairs allowed his strength to break through to the next level. It was not a wasted effort. Looking up again, Yang Kai saw the palace hidden in the clouds. But below the palace, there were still layers of stairs. However, the number of stairs was not as many as before. Yang Kai glanced at them and knew that there were only 100 of them. The second test? Yang Kai muttered to himself. Without hesitation, he strode forward. When he stepped on the first step of the stairs, a hot Yang attribute energy appeared out of thin air beside Yang Kai. This energy was like a red silk thread, visible to the naked eye. Yang Kai looked surprised and reached out to grab it. Circulating the true Yang secret art, it was directly absorbed. Strange. Yang Kai did not understand. If the second test was like this, wouldn't it be superfluous? This kind of thing had been experienced countless times in the past few days, but a few days ago, the energy rushed to the bottom of his feet, but this time, it was floating in front of his eyes. There was not much difference. Yang Kai did not investigate further because Yang Kai could not see any clues for the time being. Step by step, Yang Kai continued to walk up. Every time he passed a step, a Yang attribute energy would appear beside him. As Yang Kai walked up, he collected all of it, turning it into his own. The 100th step of the stairs allowed Dantian to gain 2 drops of Yang liquid. Only when he reached the 99th step did Yang Kai discover that something was wrong. On the stairs of the 100th step, there was an ice barrier blocking his path. Reaching out to touch it, it was extremely cold, and there was a strange coldness to it. Even his true Yang secret art could not easily dissolve it. What was even stranger was that when Yang Kai's hand came into contact with this layer of ice barrier, the Yang Qi that he had absorbed when he walked up the 100th step uncontrollably gushed out of his dantian and dissipated into the air. The next moment, Yang Kai's vision blurred, and when he recovered, he had already arrived at the bottom of the first step. Frowning, Yang Kai looked up and saw that it was indeed the 100th step he had just passed. But why did he come down again? Was the ice barrier on the 100th step the difficulty of this test? If that was the case, Then it meant that he had to break this ice barrier in order to pass this test. How could he break it? Yang Qi should be the nemesis of this ice barrier. Perhaps he could give it a try. After thinking for a long time, Yang Kai once again stepped forward and walked up the 100th step like before. Once again, a Yang attribute energy appeared on the first step of the stairs, and Yang Kai absorbed it all. Not long after, he arrived in front of the ice barrier. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai clenched his fist, circulated his Yuan Qi, and directly sent out a burning Yang burst. With a loud bang, the fierce Yuan Qi poured into the ice barrier, like a stone sinking into the sea, without the slightest ripple. Instead, Yang Kai was once again sent back down, and the energy he had just absorbed turned into 99 streaks, dissipating into nothingness. His burning Yang burst didn't work, and even if he used the star mark, he probably wouldn't be able to break this ice barrier, so what was the key? Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment, and couldn't help but understand. For the third test, Yang Kai would stop for a long time at every step, and hold the thread-like energy that appeared out of thin air in his hand. He didn't absorb it again, and simply held it like that. As the number of steps increased, the red threads on his hand became more and more violent, and even faintly burned Yang Kai's hand. For a cultivator who practiced the true Yang tactics, this was very inconceivable, but in fact, this Yang Qi was so strange. If he didn't absorb it, it would become violent and restless, constantly attacking Yang Kai. Enduring the pain in his hand, Yang Kai didn't make a sound. What was strange was that as time passed, the Yang Qi in his hand gradually calmed down, as if it had found a home, no longer struggling, no longer resisting, and no longer attacking. Yang Kai smiled. He felt that he had found the right method. As the number of steps increased, the Yang Qi gathered in Yang Kai's hand formed a fireball, but even so, Yang Kai wasn't injured anymore. Standing in front of the 99th step again, Yang Kai gently sent the fireball in his hand into the ice barrier in front of him. This time, Yang Kai wasn't sent down again. After absorbing the Yang Qi, the ice barrier made a cracking sound, and immediately, like a mirror, countless cracks appeared on it. With a crash, the towering and magnificent palace appeared in front of Yang Kai. The path is clear. Chapter 153. The moment the ice barrier shattered, Xie Hongchen's angry and unwilling roar came from the endless stairs. He had expended a great deal of effort, and now that he was about to climb to the top with great difficulty, he was only 100 feet away from the end. He thought that victory was in sight, but he didn't expect that a gentle breeze would blow in his face. Under the influence of this gentle breeze, he was wrapped up and sent down like the Hu sisters a few days ago. No! Xie Hongchen shouted and stretched out his hands as if he wanted to grab the last step and keep himself here, but the end of the stairs was getting farther and farther away from him. No! Xie Hongchen roared to the sky. After so many days of perseverance and hard work, just as he was about to reach the end, he did not expect to fall short at the last moment. This wasn't his problem. Someone else had reached the end before him. Only one person could obtain the inheritance, so he was labeled as a failure and sent down by the gentle wind. Who was it? Xie Hongchen's red eyes flashed through one person after another, but in the end he felt that it was most likely Su Yan. Was it her? The unwillingness in Xie Hongchen's heart lessened a lot, but it was still strong. When he regained his composure, Xie Hongchen found himself in an unfamiliar place. Looking up at the sky, this should still be the Heaven's Cave inheritance, but there was no one around. Standing in place and thinking for a long time, Xie Hongchen's mouth curled into a cold smile. Su Yan, if you really obtain the inheritance of this place, then I can't let you go. Like Xie Hongchen, the other disciples of the three sects were sent down by the gentle wind. However, without exception, these people were all men, just like the female disciples of the three sects a few days ago. Unlike the female disciples, these men were scattered in different corners of the Heaven's Cave inheritance. Many of them were sad for a moment, but then they got up and began to search again. Since they could not obtain the inheritance, they would see if there were any benefits here. Above the clouds, the magnificent palace appeared in front of Yang Kai. The gate was more than 100 feet high, as if welcoming Yang Kai's arrival. Instead of moving forward, Yang Kai stood in place and closed his eyes, feeling the gains and losses along the way. If the first layer's endless stairs tested a person's temperament and willpower, in that case, the second floor's 100 steps would test one's control over yang energy. Only by completely controlling the red line energy of the 99 steps could he break through the last layer of ice barrier. After a long time, Yang Kai smiled and stepped forward. At this moment, he clearly felt that the true Yang Yuan Qi in his body had undergone some changes. Passing through the wide open door and walking into the palace, the origin of Yang's seal on his chest suddenly reacted violently. In the past, when the origin of Yang's seal sensed Yang energy, it would react differently depending on the strength of the energy. However, it had never reacted as strongly as today. It was so strong that Yang Kai felt a burning sensation in his chest. With a grim expression, Zhang Xian walked in the direction indicated by the origin of Yang's seal. Not long after, Yang Kai saw a huge red and white energy ball suspended in the air about 100 feet above the ground. It was this energy ball that caused the origin of Yang's seal to react. However, what made Yang Kai feel strange was that this energy ball not only contained hot Yang energy, but also a bone-chilling cold ice attribute energy. These two completely different types of energy were mixed together, but they blended with each other without any conflict. Inside the energy ball, a hazy pattern flashed from time to time. Looking carefully, Yang Kai was shocked. It was the pattern of a dragon soaring to the 9th heaven and a phoenix crying to the 9th heaven. The dragon and phoenix patterns flashed and disappeared, similar to the scene when the Heaven's Cave inheritance had appeared. This is the inheritance? Yang Kai narrowed his eyes. As he was carefully examining the energy ball, he saw something white move from the corner of his eye, and in the next moment, 2 pairs of eyes fell on him. Yang Kai hurriedly looked towards the white light and couldn't help being stunned. As their eyes met, both of them had a look of disbelief on their faces. Su Yan. Yang Kai never thought that there would be another person here besides him, and this person was actually Su Yan. At this moment, she was sitting cross-legged below the energy ball, her body as white as snow, pure as ice and jade. It's you? Su Yan's beautiful eyes showed a trace of surprise, but at the same time, there was also some relief. It was as if she had suddenly understood a question that had puzzled her for a long time after Yang Kai's arrival. Smiling slightly, meeting his big senior sister here made Yang Kai feel both surprised and familiar. Walking over, he stood in front of Su Yan and looked up at the energy ball in midair, then back at her, asking, "How long have you been here?" "About 4 or 5 days." Su Yan faintly nodded, her voice still cold, but it no longer contained the initial sense of rejection from before. 4 or 5 days. Yang Kai was secretly speechless, thinking to himself, worthy of High Heaven Pavilion's heaven's pride. 4 or 5 days ago, I had just separated from the Hu sisters. At that time, I had only climbed half of the endless stairs, but she had already arrived here. Her speed was much faster than my own. What Yang Kai didn't know was that it was precisely because Su Yan had passed the test and entered this hall that the other women were sent down by the gentle wind. When he arrived here, the man on the endless stairs was also sent down. It could be said that only the 2 of them were left here. Sit down and talk. Su Yan motioned. Yang Kai nodded and sat cross-legged across from her. Being so close to her, a trace of unnaturalness flashed across Su Yan's face, but it quickly disappeared. The 2 of them stared at each other in silence for a while before Yang Kai suddenly smiled and said, "I climbed the 10,000 steps and then the 100 steps before arriving here. Of the 10,000 steps, the 500 steps changed, alternating between hot and cold, preventing people from moving forward. On the 100 steps, I collected 99 rays of Yang attribute energy and broke through an ice barrier." Su Yan also smiled. "I also climbed the 10,000 steps. Like you, I also climbed the 100 steps. However, on the 100 steps, I collected 99 rays of Yang attribute energy and froze a sea of fire." Her smile was truly devastatingly beautiful. It was as if a spring breeze had blown through the frozen earth. The snow-white world was instantly filled with greenery, and the spring flowers bloomed. Yang Kai couldn't help but stare blankly at her, his whole body feeling comfortable from the inside out. Su Yan's long eyelashes fluttered as she turned her gaze away. I didn't know that your smile was so beautiful. Yang Kai was not stingy with his praise. I'm not familiar with you. Su Yan's icy face was slightly red, but her expression was indifferent. Once unfamiliar, twice familiar. Facing this goddess who was worshipped by the disciples of the three sects, Yang Kai didn't feel the slightest pressure as he teased her. Su Yan obviously didn't want to continue with his nonsense and said, I'll tell you what I think. Listen carefully, and if there's anything you think is inappropriate, tell me. Yang Kai solemnly nodded. He knew that Su Yan was going to talk about the inheritance here. After all, she had been here for 4 or 5 days and knew more than him. After sorting out her thoughts, Su Yan lightly opened her mouth. We were all wrong. The disciples of the three sects all thought that the inheritance here could only be obtained by one person. But from the current situation, it seems that this inheritance is for 2 people. The fusion of cold and heat on the endless steppes is the best evidence. That place is not only a test of a person's temperament and will, but also a test to select a candidate for the inheritance. Yang Kai nodded. He had also thought of this point, but it was only a guess and he didn't dare to be too sure. As for the second test, although you and I have different experiences, it's mostly the same. This is a test of our ability to control our elemental energy. Only by passing these 2 tests can we reach this place. Su Yan ran her fingers through her hair and lowered her head slightly, revealing her slender white neck as she softly said, Before you came here, I didn't dare to make such a conclusion, but after seeing you here, I finally understood some of the key points. Do you see what's above our heads? Yang Kai nodded. These past 4 or 5 days, I've been trying to collect it, but I haven't had any results. It rejects me, so if I'm not wrong, we must both circulate our secret arts at the same time in order to draw it down and obtain the inheritance here. Su Yan's words were very simple, but they hit the nail on the head. What do you want to do? Yang Kai asked after listening. The inheritance here was no longer a matter of one person, but involved both him and Su Yan, so no one had the right to decide. No one knew what their relationship would be like after obtaining the inheritance here. But since the inheritance was shared between 2 people, it would definitely not be as strange as before. For Yang Kai himself, he was naturally happy to share the inheritance with Su Yan. This cold senior sister was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She was a very good person, so Yang Kai naturally wouldn't reject her. Now, it all depended on her opinion. If Su Yan wasn't willing to obtain the inheritance here with him, Yang Kai wouldn't force her. Su Yan obviously also considered this, and her expression couldn't help but show some hesitation and struggle. She didn't know what would happen to her and Yang Kai after obtaining the inheritance, but when she thought of how he was unafraid of death and saved her from the turtle-shaped monster beast a few days ago, Su Yan's struggle and hesitation loosened a little. After a long while Yang Kai was waiting in silence, Su Yan slowly raised her head. She stared at Yang Kai closely, as if she didn't want to miss any expression on Yang Kai's face, and said in a firm tone, If I say that I don't want to be tied to someone I'm not familiar with because of some external force, even if it's an inheritance, I won't do it. Will you be disappointed? Yang Kai hesitated for a moment, then nodded, a little. Su Yan's expression darkened. But I will respect your choice. You have your own freedom, and I have mine. If you don't want to, then don't. Yang Kai looked calm, then slowly got up and said to Su Yan, If you really don't want to, then let's go. Go where? Su Yan raised her head and asked. The way she tilted her head was very interesting, less cold and more curious. Go out. Yang Kai chuckled. If you don't want the inheritance, then why are we still here? Who said I don't want it? Since we've already come here, how can we go back empty-handed? Su Yan smiled faintly, and there was a hint of slyness in her smile. Are you playing with me? Yang Kai's face sank, and he said bitterly, I trusted you so much, but you actually lied to me. It was just a little test, you don't have to be so angry, right? Don't you men always brag about being magnanimous? How come you can't even take a woman's joke? Su Yan pursed her lips and looked at Yang Kai indifferently. Chapter 154. Yang Kai really couldn't get angry and simply sat down in front of Su Yan and sighed. Su Yan, you really don't have the demeanor of a senior sister. You're already calling me by my name, so why should I act like a senior sister? Yang Kai was dumbfounded. He had never thought that this icy woman could actually be so eloquent. A woman's nature? However, after a few words of bickering, the relationship between the two of them had become much closer. Even when Yang Kai had saved her that day, it had not had such an effect. Smiling bitterly, Yang Kai raised his hand and surrendered. Fine, I was wrong. Seeing his glib tongue, Su Yan became serious and said, since you've decided to accept it, let's begin. It could be seen that she was still a little nervous, but she was much better than before. What do I do? Yang Kai asked seriously. Circulate your Yang attribute secret art. Su Yan closed her eyes and began circulating her ice heart secret art, a bone-chilling cold slowly spreading out. Yang Kai also quickly circulated his true Yang secret art, causing his burning true Yang Yuan Qi to flow through his meridians. As soon as the two diametrically opposed secret arts began circulating, the entire hall began to show some unusual reactions and a series of rumbling sounds rang out incessantly. Hearing this, Su Yan's face lit up with joy, knowing that her previous deduction was not wrong. Relying on either her or Yang Kai alone, it would be impossible to obtain the inheritance here. Only by circulating their secret arts at the same time would there be a possibility of success. As time passed, the energy ball suspended above the two of them gradually began to react, as if it was being guided by a hand, and slowly began to descend. The dragon and phoenix seals inside the energy ball shuttled back and forth, constantly changing images and flashing images that were too much for the eyes to take in. After a full half an hour, the several dozen meter high energy ball fell between the two of them, the dragon and phoenix seals flashing more and more violently as red and white light flowed endlessly, creating a dense light. Accompanied by a resounding dragon roar and phoenix cry, the ball of energy suddenly burst into two, transforming into a fire dragon and an ice phoenix, each of which then rushed into Yang Kai and Su Yan's bodies. Both of their bodies trembled as a painful and struggling expression appeared between their brows. On Yang Kai's side, when the fire dragon rushed into his body, he suddenly felt a majestic and vigorous Yang attribute energy in his meridians. At the same time, some information flowed into his mind. Not daring to be negligent, Yang Kai crazily revolved his true Yang secret art, wanting to convert this energy into Yang liquid. But what shocked him was that his true Yang secret art was unable to convert this energy. No matter how hard he tried, it would not turn into Yang liquid and sink into the dantian as usual. Along with this surge of energy, Yang Kai's meridians and physique felt as if they were on fire, and an inexplicable feeling welled up in his heart. His five senses had become quite sharp, and Yang Kai could clearly smell a faint fragrance coming from not far in front of him. This fragrance was Su Yan's body fragrance, and when it entered his nose, it seemed to carry with it an inexplicable energy that tugged at his heartstrings, made his heart beat faster, and blended into his blood, causing it to boil and flow faster. This was a primal impulse. How could this be? Yang Kai's heart shook as he quickly checked the information that had just entered his mind along with the fire dragon. After a moment, Yang Kai's expression became strange. Opening his eyes, he happened to see Su Yan staring at him. Unlike Yang Kai's hot body, Su Yan's face was pale and her delicate body was trembling uncontrollably, her teeth chattering. She was frozen. After cultivating the ice heart secret art, cold was her best companion, but now this cold had exceeded the limit of what she could bear, causing her to have this kind of reaction. Just like how the heat had also exceeded the limit of what Yang Kai could bear. However, Yang Kai could clearly see that Su Yan's pale face had a faint blush, her breathing was slightly heavy, and her stars-like eyes were surging with lust. Their four eyes met, and Yang Kai knew that she should be feeling the same as him right now, endlessly thirsting for the other party's energy. Yang Kai longed for her cold to soothe his heat, and she longed for Yang Kai's heat to warm her cold. This kind of desire was instinctive, an instinct that had emerged from her body after absorbing the fire dragon and ice phoenix. However, this kind of instinct had not yet destroyed each other's consciousness, allowing them to think and resist. Su Yen, the inheritance we obtained. Yang Kai slowly opened his mouth, licking his lips. He felt like his throat was on fire as he stared at Su Yen with bloodshot eyes. I know. Su Yen clenched her teeth, her face revealing a trace of bitterness. Although she knew that the inheritance would be obtained by the two of them together, after obtaining it, her relationship with Kai Yang wouldn't be as strange as before. However, she never expected that the inheritance would turn out to be like this. The art of yin-yang joyous unification. This was a kind of secret art, and as soon as one heard the name, one would know how to cultivate it. The grade of this secret art was unknown, but it was definitely not low, because Su Yan's Ice Heart secret art was a profound grade secret art that had been passed down since ancient times, but even Ice Heart's secret art was unable to resist the cold, so the quality of the art of yin-yang joyous unification could be imagined. This is a dual cultivation secret art, right? When Yang Kai asked this question, his heart could not help but beat faster. Su Yan's answer made one's imagination run wild and fanciful. The tone that came from the tip of her nose was like a low moan, teasing Yang Kai's mind. Then isn't it an evil secret art? Yang Kai was depressed. Although he was very happy to be able to obtain this kind of inheritance with Su Yan, if it was an evil secret art, then it would be a big problem. Su Yan could not help but bitterly smile at his shallow knowledge. Unconsciously twisting her body, she said in a trembling voice, dual cultivation is not an evil secret art. Plucking yin to nourish yang, plucking yang to nourish yin is an evil secret art. Normally, Su Yan would not discuss such a shameful topic with a man, but at this moment, she could only patiently explain to Yang Kai. Even so, her heart was very embarrassed, and her face was blushing. Oh! Yang Kai could not help but feel relieved. He looked up at Su Yan and saw that she was looking at him softly. Her pair of eyes contained a hint of lust, and in an instant, Yang Kai's psychological defenses collapsed. From the time he met Su Yan until now, Su Yan had always been aloof, pure and cold. He had never seen her show such a weak expression, and he could not help but want to protect and comfort her. Right now, she was not the proud daughter of High Heaven Pavilion, nor was she the goddess worshipped by the disciples of the three sects. She was just a woman who longed for the hot yuan qi in her body. At certain times, men were always more easily swayed than women. Every woman was born with unswerving determination. Su Yan. Yang Kai looked at her anxiously. No. Su Yan's eyebrows were filled with a painful struggle, but she still slowly shook her head. Yang Kai sighed, and his expression became firm as he said, "Then let's try and see if we can dissolve the energy in our bodies." Hearing him say this, Su Yan looked at him with gratitude and nodded slightly. If at this time Yang Kai had insisted, she did not know if she could have resisted the temptation. Yang Kai's understanding and patience were enough to earn her gratitude. The two closed their eyes again and began circulating their secret arts in an attempt to dissolve the cold and heat in their bodies. But as time passed, Yang Kai found that the more he tried to dissolve the cold, the more ferocious the heat and desire became. The desire to move was like a monstrous wave that swept through his heart and body, causing his mind to ring out in fanciful whispers. The tip of his nose was filled with the fragrance of a woman, and the air that his hands touched seemed to become soft and smooth. All of this was enough to cause a person with a weak mind to instantly fall into depravity. The fire dragon that had drilled into his body roared angrily, as if it was impatient because it had not been able to fuse with the cold. Yang Kai's skin became red, like a hot iron. His whole body was steaming hot, but he still gritted his teeth and persisted. Unyielding and perseverance were his greatest strengths. Even if the temptation in front of him was enough to move any man, as long as Su Yan did not nod her head, he would not do anything. The fire dragon roared, as if it was interrogating and urging him. Yang Kai's resistance had angered it greatly. As this roar entered his soul, Yang Kai's consciousness began to fade bit by bit, his eyes turning red like a bull in heat. His heartbeat reached an unprecedented rate, like the beating of a war drum, powerful and clear. Every time he breathed, a wave of heat would roll up his body. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to embrace Su Yan in front of him and use her coldness to dissolve his own heat. This was not his desire for her, but rather the attraction of her coldness to his own heat. This kind of attraction was stronger than any kind of aphrodisiac in the world. Yang Kai was like this, and so was Su Yan. Under the interference of their respective energies, the two of them were slowly losing their minds. Just as his consciousness was about to disappear, Yang Kai quickly released the unyielding will he had been suppressing for a long time. Unyielding will. Not yielding to any kind of pressure was also a kind of pride. A warmth seeped out of his bones, and his divine sense, which was about to disappear, suddenly recovered a lot. At this moment, he heard a moan that caused his mind to ripple. It was coming from Su Yan's throat, and when this sound entered his ears, he almost lost himself again. Hurriedly opening his eyes, he saw Su Yan's pale face with an alluring blush, her teeth biting her ruby-red lips, her long eyelashes trembling, and her body convulsing. The air was filled with an indescribable fragrance, one that was even more intoxicating than Su Yan's body fragrance. Su Yan, Su Yan! Yang Kai's voice thundered as he shouted at her twice. Su Yan's body trembled, her fan-like long eyelashes trembled slightly. Opening her hazy eyes, she looked at Kai Yang and gritted her teeth. "I can still do it, you also, hold on a little longer." Yang Kai nodded slightly, closing his eyes and continuing to dissolve the tyrannical yuan qi in his body. Just like before, the violent heat attacked Yang Kai's body and mind again and again, making it impossible for him to think properly, leaving him with only his instinctive impulses. But at the most critical moment, the unyielding golden skeleton would always play a role, allowing Yang Kai to regain consciousness for a moment. Chapter 155. With the help of the unyielding golden skeleton, Yang Kai resisted again and again, resisting again and again, but his meridians and flesh were still burning painfully. He didn't know how long he could last, but he was certain that if he continued like this for a long time, he would definitely be burned to death because the hot energy in his body was becoming more and more intense, to the point where he was faintly unable to bear it. Just thinking about it made him feel ridiculous. A person who cultivated the true Yang secret art could actually be burned to death by Yang attribute energy. This was a legend that no one would believe. Compared to Yang Kai, Su Yan's situation was even worse. If it weren't for Yang Kai waking her up every time her mind was clear, she wouldn't have been able to hold on. Even so, Su Yan's situation was getting worse and worse. Waking up again, before Kai Yang could even open his mouth to call out Su Yan's name, he was surprised to find that she had at some point moved half a foot in front of him, half knelt in front of him, breathing heavily, her eyes blurred. Zheng Zhong stretched out her hand to touch his cheek. It could be seen that her movements were involuntary. She was still struggling and resisting. The soft hand that touched him carried a dense chill. Even her fingernails were covered with a layer of snow-white frost. Her small hand was trembling violently. From time to time, her movements would pause, and a pained expression would appear on her face. Every time this happened, a faint moan would escape from her throat. "Su Yan!" Yang Kai called out as usual, but his voice was much softer than before. He didn't know if this was his own doing or not, but he felt a little guilty and guilty. Even so, Su Yan's beautiful eyes still regained some clarity. Seeing her own movements, she also saw the pity and tenderness in Yang Kai's eyes. "I don't think I can hold on." For the first time, Su Yan was able to speak a complete sentence. Yang Kai looked at her and smiled, then reached out and grasped Su Yan's hand. The moment the two touched, the fire dragon and ice phoenix in their bodies once again let out a dragon roar and phoenix cry, their bodies trembling as their divine senses quickly recovered. Looking at each other, Yang Kai didn't let go, and neither did Su Yan, their 10 fingers intertwined. They both knew that once they let go of each other, they would continue to struggle in pain like before. A strange feeling welled up in their hearts, causing both of them to feel warm. "Won't you regret it?" Yang Kai asked with a light smile, holding Su Yan's hand. Her small hand was cold, but very smooth and soft, giving him a comfortable feeling. Su Yan's face blushed as she lowered her eyes and whispered, "We've already done our best." Su Yan lightly pushed with one hand. Yang Kai held Yang's hands, with the other hand, Yang's Yang. One body was as hot as fire, while the other was as cold as ice. They were tightly huddled together, but it was as if they had fused together. An indescribable feeling sublimated in their hearts. Although their divine senses had recovered, the abnormalities in their bodies were still the same as before, a sign of their expectations and needs for each other. "Su Yan," Yang Kai whispered, his voice trembling slightly. After all, this was the first time he had experienced such a thing, so he didn't know what to do. Su Yan didn't speak, simply burying her head in Yang Kai's shoulder. The two remained in a daze for a long time before Yang Kai stretched out an arm, wrapped it around her neck, and slowly lowered her. Lying down, Su Yan closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling, her expression extremely nervous, her hands tightly clenched together on her lower abdomen. "Don't be nervous." Yang Kai couldn't help but laugh. Seeing her like this, he felt a lot more relaxed. As he spoke, he took a deep breath and pressed his lips against Su Yan's. As their lips met, Su Yan's body suddenly straightened. Yang Kai gently patted her hand, conveying his comfort. After a while, she gradually relaxed. Yang Kai then pried open her mouth and began teasing her. An uncontrollable whimper echoed in the hall, and Su Yan finally stretched out her hands, wrapping them around Yang Kai's neck, responding fiercely. At this moment, she had completely subverted the pure and innocent image in Yang Kai's mind. Her thirst for heat had made it impossible for her to maintain her natural instincts. Her clothes were undone layer by layer before being casually tossed aside by Yang Kai, the two of them in a state of chaos. When the last piece of clothing was removed, Su Yan's face was red to the point of turning purple, one hand covering her chest and the other covering her lower abdomen, trembling once again. Yang Kai's eyes blazed as he stared at her, secretly praising the generosity and benevolence of the Creator. Su Yan seemed to have gathered the best of the best in the world, perfect without the slightest flaw. Every inch of her skin exuded an attractive luster like porcelain. The jade peaks that were being protected by her hands were neither too big nor too small, just right. Her flat lower abdomen didn't have a trace of excess flesh, smooth and tender like the most exquisite silk, making one unable to part with it. At this very moment, her body was suffused with a strange red light that was surging with amorous feelings. Yang Kai reached out and removed the arm that was covering her chest. Su Yan resisted slightly before accepting her fate, but her eyelashes trembled even more violently. Although the whole process was short, it gave Yang Kai a kind of sacrilege. If he hadn't obtained the dual cultivation inheritance with her this time, how could he have had the opportunity to get close to such a noble and arrogant woman? But now, not only could he get close to her, he could even possess her. With this thought in mind, Yang Kai could no longer suppress his emotions. A beast-like roar came from his throat as he hugged Su Yan's body, sitting up and placing her on his lap. "Bear with it, I heard it's a little painful." Yang Kai didn't forget to remind her. Su Yan nodded slightly, not daring to open her eyes from beginning to end. Under the guidance of Yang Kai, her body slowly fell. Her body felt like it was being slowly pierced by a long spear, and a numbing feeling instantly spread throughout her body. Su Yan's footing became unstable and she directly sat down. This time, Su Yan cried out in pain, but she immediately clenched her teeth and held back. She wrapped her arms around Yang Kai's neck, her body convulsing and trembling as 2 drops of tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. At this moment, she couldn't wait to beat Yang Kai up. What did he mean by a little painful? It was clearly a heart-wrenching pain. She didn't move, and Yang Kai didn't dare to either, so the two of them maintained this posture. After a long time, the pain gradually faded, replaced by a strange emptiness in her body. This was an unprecedented feeling, one that made her want to twist her body, but she was too embarrassed to do so. Circulate the joyous unification art. Yang Kai's faint voice entered Su Yan's ears, causing her to panic and quickly open her eyes to look at him. She found that although the man in front of her had a beastly look in his eyes, there was still a trace of calmness, mixed with a lot of heartache and pity. She couldn't help feeling relieved. Su Yan nodded slightly and together with Yang Kai circulated the dual cultivation method they had just obtained. As soon as the secret art was circulated, Yang Kai and Su Yan both involuntarily let out a groan. The roaring fire dragon and the impatient ice phoenix in their bodies suddenly calmed down at this moment, causing the exhaustion in their bodies and minds to disappear in an instant, replaced by a comfortable feeling. The two of them were closely joined together, and the vigorous yuan qi flowed back and forth between their bodies, blending with each other. Although their posture was intimate, the expressions on their faces were solemn at this moment, as they carefully guided the yuan qi without the slightest thought. Through the union of their bodies, Yang Kai could clearly feel Su Yan's strength. The amount of ice qi in her body was more than 100 times more than what was stored in his meridians. Compared to her, he was like a toddler learning how to walk, so fragile that he couldn't even withstand a single blow. Su Yan must have noticed this, so when she circulated the secret art, she didn't dare to move too quickly, letting Yang Kai's will take the lead, for fear that he wouldn't be able to handle it. The circulation of the secret art not only allowed the two of them to feel the condition of each other's bodies, but also allowed their spirits to merge. The original feeling of unfamiliarity disappeared in an instant, and both of them felt like the other was the most important person in their lives. This feeling was very natural, without the slightest abrupt. After circulating one cycle after another, the fire dragon in Yang Kai's body and the ice phoenix in Su Yan's body gradually disappeared. The two huge energies didn't remain in their meridians, nor did they enter the dantian. No one knew where they had gone. Their purpose seemed to be to force Yang Kai and Su Yan to cultivate the yin-yang joyous unification art. At this moment, the two of them were already cultivating, so they had completed their respective missions. However, Yang Kai felt that they shouldn't disappear, he just didn't know where they were hiding. The joyous unification art continued to circulate, and Yang Kai's true yang yuan qi and Su Yan's ice-cold qi replaced the fire dragon and ice phoenix, flowing and fusing in their meridians. However, because the difference in strength between the two of them was too great, Yang Kai's yuan qi couldn't cause any waves after it entered Su Yan's body. It was like a stone sinking into the sea, disappearing without a trace. This discovery made Yang Kai feel a little embarrassed. "Take your time, don't worry." Su Yan's gentle voice sounded in his mind. She seemed to understand Yang Kai's thoughts and comforted him. Yang Kai didn't say anything and directly ignited the 10 drops of yang liquid in the dantian. The true yang yuan qi in his meridians suddenly surged and rushed into Su Yan's body. Ah! Su Yan couldn't help but cry out in alarm. She didn't know how Yang Kai could suddenly erupt with such a huge amount of yuan qi. With his initial element boundary 8th stage, it was impossible for him to have so much energy. Just as she cried out in surprise, another energy not inferior to the previous one poured into her body. Then, another one. With the eruption of 30 drops of yang liquid, Yang Kai's meridians had reached their limit. Bursts of soreness and pain came. He was afraid that if there was a little more, his meridians would burst. If it weren't for the joyous unification art, Yang Kai wouldn't have dared to be so reckless. Each drop of yang liquid was the crystallization of his yuan qi. If one were to explode, it would fill up his meridians. Normally, if 3 drops of yang liquid were to explode at the same time, there would be problems with his meridians. But now, all the yuan qi was coexisting in his and Su Yan's body. With her strength, she could naturally withstand the influx of 30 drops of yang liquid. Chapter 156. Opening her eyes, she saw Yang Kai smiling proudly at her. Su Yan's beautiful eyes flashed as she lowered her head and gently bit his shoulder. "It tickles," Yang Kai said as he shook his shoulder. "I found that you have a secret." Su Yan smiled. Has anyone ever told you that your smile can make the heavens and earth lose their color? Yang Kai looked at her with a dazed expression. Su Yan's face reddened as she reached out and tucked a few strands of hair behind her head, whispering, "From now on, I will only smile for one person." Yang Kai felt that this happiness was heavy. "Cultivate first." Yang Kai calmed himself down and said. Su Yan nodded slightly. The 30 drops of yang liquid were quickly swallowed up by Su Yan's ice attribute qi, and when they returned to Yang Kai's body, they were directly absorbed by the unyielding golden skeleton. This discovery made Yang Kai happy. Yang liquid was very important to him, but the unyielding golden skeleton was no less important. This kind of transformation between yuan qi and energy was something that Yang Kai was happy to see. Just like before, Yang Kai once again exploded 30 drops of yang liquid, but the swelling sensation he was supposed to feel didn't appear. Frowning, Yang Kai once again exploded 5 drops of yang liquid, and the familiar swelling and soreness began to spread. After cultivating for a while, his meridians had become much wider, otherwise, it would have been impossible for such an effect to occur. The joyous unification art, dual cultivation secret art, is really powerful. Waiting until the energy from these 35 drops of yang liquid had been absorbed by Su Yan and returned to her own body, where it was absorbed by the unyielding golden skeleton, Kai Yang's body slightly shook. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept up within the hall, blowing up the two people's clothes that were scattered on the floor. An invisible aura suddenly erupted with Kai Yang as the center, and visible to the naked eye, ripples of energy spread out in all directions. After a long time, this abnormality gradually subsided. Another breakthrough. Initial element boundary 9th stage. It had been less than a day since his last breakthrough. Su Yan also noticed this, and her pretty face filled with joy at being able to rejoice with Yang Kai. Yang Kai was calm, but there was a faint expectation in his heart. He wondered if he would be able to break through to the Qi transformation stage with this dual cultivation. He pondered for a moment. Yang Kai found himself in a bit of trouble. He had spent 65 drops of yang liquid just to break through a minor realm, and this was the yuan qi energy he obtained from dual cultivation with Su Yan. Compared to pure yang liquid, it was much more precious and pure. Even if he used up all of the remaining yang liquid in the dantian, it would not be enough for him to break through to the qi transforming stage. But no matter what, he had to do his best this time. Gritting his teeth, Yang Kai exploded another 50 drops of yang liquid. As the secret art circulated, it was sent into Su Yan's body. Su Yan's heart trembled. When Yang Kai's body first erupted with a huge amount of true yang yuan qi, she was already extremely shocked. When the second eruption occurred, she was somewhat numb. This was the third eruption of terrifying energy. It made her unable to calm down again. Where did he get so much yuan qi? Although she had doubts in her heart, Su Yan did not ask. She only felt a faint sense of relief in her heart. This was the man she had intimate contact with. If there were no accidents, she might spend the rest of her life with this man. The stronger he was, the happier Su Yan would be. After a full 3 days, Yang Kai and Su Yan finally finished their first dual cultivation journey. 3 days was long enough. But when the two of them became one, only a brief moment had passed during the fusion of their divine souls. 3 days later, the two of them both woke up. Su Yan could clearly feel that after this dual cultivation, the ice qi in her body had become purer and purer, more than a grade higher than before. This discovery, it diluted the regret she had for losing her virginity. Looking at each other, Yang Kai's face was full of smiles. Su Yan blushed. When she was immersed in cultivation, she did not feel anything. But now, she was ashamed of herself. She was sitting on Yang Kai in a very embarrassing position, her hands wrapped around his neck. The two of them were naked, facing each other, and were even closer together. A hot and hard feeling filled her lower abdomen, filling her body and mind. Su Yan could even feel a rhythmic beat coming from there. Every beat made her heart feel numb, and her whole body went limp, as if she was struck by lightning, unable to summon the slightest bit of strength. She had never thought that she would one day stay in this position with a man for 3 days without moving. She had thought that after cultivating the Ice Heart's secret art, her body and mind would be frozen, and she would be alone for the rest of her life. But now, because of an inheritance, a dual cultivation method, she had an inseparable connection with a man she was not very familiar with. She could not describe what kind of feeling it was. There was a sense of loss, but also a sense of joy and happiness. Plucking up the courage to look at Yang Kai, Su Yan's eyes were full of gentleness. Su Yan. Yang Kai's fiery eyes were full of aggression as he stared at Su Yan's icy face. The dual cultivation method had ended, and the fire dragon and ice phoenix had disappeared long ago, but Yang Kai still felt an irresistible temptation destroying his mind. The impact was like a tide, and the touch of warmth was like a wave, wanting to engulf him. Su Yan pursed her red lips tightly, her hands cupping Yang Kai's cheeks as she lowered her head, gently touching their foreheads together. "Don't." Su Yan's voice was filled with struggle and trembling. Because of the connection between their bodies, she could easily pry into Kai Yang's thoughts. At this time, refusing him required a great deal of determination. "I'll help you break through first." As soon as her voice fell, a surge of Yuan Qi flowed from Su Yan directly into Yang Kai's body. Yang Kai's mind focused as he hurriedly held his breath, restraining the fire and madness in his eyes. He quickly circulated his secret art and received the energy from Su Yan. Yang Kai didn't refuse. Although doing so wasn't good for Su Yan and might cause her strength to drop slightly, Yang Kai could feel her sincerity. The Yuan Qi in his meridians was already full, and with the impact of Su Yan's energy, it was even more swollen. A soreness spread over, but Su Yan did not stop. She could sense where Yang Kai's limit was, so naturally, she would not let her actions hurt him. The Yuan Qi in her body gradually became more violent, forming a wind around the two of them. After a while, when Yang Kai's limit was reached, Su Yan did not dare to send in any more Yuan Qi. "Continue." Yang Kai closed his eyes and said in a muffled voice. "But, continue." Su Yan gritted her teeth and obeyed Yang Kai's wishes, once again pouring in her own Yuan Qi. The two of them had cultivated the joyous unification art, so the Yuan Qi in their bodies would not be lost during the exchange. This was an advantage that no one could compare to. After a long time, the Yuan Qi from Yang Kai's body became more and more violent, and the pain in his meridians was very intense, but Yang Kai gritted his teeth. He allowed his body to tremble and sweat, but he still did not make a sound. "Don't stop," Yang Kai roared. Su Yan's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. She did not dare to send Yuan Qi into Yang Kai's body anymore. She was afraid that he would not be able to take it and damage his foundation, but she could feel Yang Kai's willpower. It was a willpower that wanted to become stronger. Because of his willpower to become stronger. If it was before today, perhaps Yang Kai would not be so anxious, but now that the two of them had a physical relationship, and the gap between their strength was so big, how could Yang Kai be satisfied with the current situation? Men have always wanted to protect women. If he wanted to protect Su Yan, he had to become stronger than her. These were Kai Yang's thoughts, and Su Yan had also seen this, causing her heart to stir. After struggling for a long time, Su Yan continued to pour in Yuan Qi. The Yuan Qi continued to fluctuate fiercely, gradually becoming more and more violent, like an unruly person. It did not want to be bound by Yang Kai. It was desperately struggling to break away from Yang Kai's meridians and regain its freedom. Su Yan stopped. She knew that Yang Kai was at the point of breaking through. When a cultivator's Yuan Qi showed this situation, it was a sign that they were about to break through to the Qi transformation stage. At this moment, Yang Kai's painful expression disappeared. The soreness in his meridians also disappeared. The continuous pouring of large amounts of Yuan Qi did not cause any damage to him. Instead, his meridians became wider and tougher, enough to accommodate the Yuan Qi. The shackles of heaven and earth were within reach. This layer of shackles was the power of heaven and earth that prevented Yang Kai from breaking through, just like the last time when he broke through to the initial element stage. Once he broke through this layer of shackles, he would be able to break through to the Qi transformation stage. Yang Kai carefully sensed it, his mind immersed in his comprehension. As he comprehended, his expression became calmer, but the yuan qi in his body became more and more restless. A surge of energy seeped out of his bones, causing Yang Kai to once again be filled with evil qi. Su Yan was secretly shocked, but did not dare to disturb him. After a long time, the evil qi retracted and disappeared. At this moment, the yuan qi in Yang Kai's body was extremely violent, but he slowly opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. Qi transformation stage. With Su Yan's help, Yang Kai successfully broke through. A loud sound, like a thunderbolt in a clear sky, shook the entire Heaven's Cave inheritance. The wind and clouds changed, and the energy in this strange space fiercely gathered in the main hall, and then poured into Yang Kai's body. This was a blessing that every cultivator would receive when they broke through a big realm. The power of heaven and earth would strengthen the cultivator's body, tempering the flesh and bones, making the cultivator's body stronger. As for how much benefit one could receive, it all depended on one's own efforts. The last time when Yang Kai broke through to the initial element stage, he also enjoyed it, but this time the power of heaven and earth poured into his body was much more powerful. When he opened his eyes, he saw Su Yan's worried gaze. Yang Kai smiled, "I have something for you." As he spoke, he immersed his mind, and divided half of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew that had been stored in the unyielding golden skeleton, and sent it into Su Yan's body. A cold feeling came, and Su Yan's face lit up. "What is this?" The 9 yin yuan condensing dew. It is said to be very useful for yuan qi cultivators. Yang Kai's hands wandered around Su Yan's smooth back, and his mouth said seriously, "You refine it, I'll temper my body." But Su Yan nodded meekly. Although refining the 9 yin yuan condensing dew like this would definitely not be as effective as refining Xianing Chang, it was still a heaven and earth spirit treasure, and could more or less increase Su Yan's strength. As long as she could use 20% of its effect, it would be enough to make up for Su Yan's loss in helping Yang Kai. Chapter 157. It was another 3 days of boring cultivation. In fact, Yang Kai had already completed his own refinement 2 days ago. Half of the heaven and earth's power was used to refine his flesh and bones, making his body stronger enough to withstand the impact of yuan qi. The other half was absorbed by the unyielding golden skeleton, similar to last time. However, Su Yan was still refining the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, so Yang Kai did not dare to move. He could only endure and maintain this uncomfortable posture. 3 days later, Su Yan's eyelashes fluttered as she opened her eyes. Her eyes were filled with joy and excitement. Yang Kai's spirit was shaken, and his breathing became slightly heavier. He had been hungry and thirsty for many days, waiting for this moment. Their eyes met, and Su Yan said, "Thank you." When she opened her eyes, she knew that her body had undergone earth-shattering changes. With the refinement of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, not only did it make up for the loss of helping Yang Kai, but it also made the yuan qi in her body much purer. Coupled with the results of the dual cultivation, although her realm did not change, her true strength was at least 30% higher than before. The yuan qi spread throughout her body, and without the need to circulate, it would circulate endlessly. Every cell in her body was bathed in the yuan qi, bursting with unprecedented vitality. Her face was shrouded in a holy radiance, and she looked like a fairy from the 9th heaven. With this dual cultivation, and the refinement of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, the traces left on her body by the passage of time over the past 20 years were completely healed. Every inch of her skin became like a newborn, snow white, crystal clear, delicate like jade. "Between you and me, do you still need to thank me?" Yang Kai was slightly absent-minded. In the past, Su Yan gave him a cold and noble feeling, but the current Su Yan made him involuntarily feel ashamed of his inferiority. This feeling would not disappear just because the two of them were close. Su Yan also smiled knowingly. This kind of telepathic connection made her feel very warm. There was no need for words between them. They could feel each other's thoughts. "That's right, you just broke through to the qi transforming stage. This stage is very special." Su Yan said with a serious expression. Before she could finish, Yang Kai interrupted her. With a strange expression, he asked, "Do you think that if we discuss the qi transforming stage like this, isn't it a bit wrong?" Su Yan was stunned for a moment before her face flushed red. Yang Kai looked at her and smiled faintly. His waist, which had been stiff for many days, moved almost instinctively, causing Su Yan to let out a low moan. At this moment, she felt as if she had been thrown into the clouds, and before she could stabilize her body, she fell into a bottomless abyss. He had never experienced such ups and downs before. She couldn't control herself at all from the exhilarating pleasure that made it impossible for her to control herself. The young man and woman had never experienced the affairs of the world. Their bodies were extremely sensitive. Even the slightest movement could cause the two of them to feel an extremely strong stimulation. Aroused by her miserable cries, Yang Kai's movements became more and more unbridled. His big hands wandered around her full breasts, kneading and squeezing. He buried his head deeper into her two peaks. Heavy panting sounds could be heard as he gently and violently kissed Su Yan's skin. Su Yan's long hair scattered. Her perky buttocks were straight. She used both hands to tightly hold Yang Kai's head, pressing his head against her chest. Her slender legs wrapped around Yang Kai's waist. Unconsciously, she stiffly twisted her body, welcoming the waves of unbearable pleasure. After a long time, Su Yan suddenly nervously grasped Yang Kai's hair and said with difficulty, wait, what's wrong?" Yang Kai looked up at her, his fierce movements gradually calming down. Su Yan could barely speak. She gasped for breath for a long time before calming down. Her whole body was flushed red, and her eyes were filled with lust. Biting her teeth, she asked curiously, "Just now, did I call out?" Yang Kai quickly shook his head, a serious expression on his face. "You really didn't?" Su Yan asked worriedly. Just now, her consciousness was in chaos, so she didn't know if she had called out or not. "You really didn't?" Yang Kai looked at her with incomparable sincerity. "You lied to me." Su Yan saw a trace of smugness and pride in Yang Kai's eyes. Feeling wronged, Yang Kai made a move and her consciousness immediately became chaotic again. Yang Kai hugged Su Yan with both hands, lifting her up and then turning her back to him. Originally, he wanted Su Yan to not maintain that uncomfortable position, but when Yang Kai saw her back, his expression suddenly became excited, his eyes becoming red. That night in Su Yan's small loft, although Yang Kai had seen her hazy back, she was wearing undergarments and the light was dim, so he couldn't see clearly. But this time, up close, not a single piece of skin on Su Yan's body could escape Yang Kai's eyes. This was a back that could steal the good fortune of heaven and earth. Soft and graceful curves spread down from her slender shoulders, first to her waist and abdomen, then to her buttocks, outlining a perky curve that could make one's blood boil. The transformation was so natural, it was enough to make any man who saw this scene go crazy. Not only that, at this moment, on Su Yan's smooth white back, as her skin trembled and flushed, there was a lifelike ice phoenix swimming around, sometimes resting on Su Yan's shoulder, sometimes landing on her perky buttocks, as if it was alive. This was the ice phoenix that had disappeared before. Feeling it slightly, Yang Kai seemed to feel that his back was a little hot. They were still there. It was just that they had turned into this special tattoo. After pausing for a moment, Yang Kai began to move again. The peach blossom spring was overflowing with mud, and a humid atmosphere filled the hall. The sounds of their bodies intertwined with Su Yan's slight gasps for breath, creating a sound that would make one's imagination run wild. The two gave and took as much as they wanted, like fish in water, not distinguishing between each other, inside the hall. The chaotic atmosphere seemed to have not dissipated yet. Yang Kai and Su Yan's clothes were neat and tidy. In front of them was an ice mirror that Su Yan had condensed with her yuan qi. Su Yan sat in front of the mirror, quietly looking at herself in the mirror. The girl in the mirror had tasted it for the first time, and her originally cold face still had an intoxicating blush. Yang Kai stood behind her, tidying up her messy hair. It was silent, but very warm. After transforming from a young girl into a woman, Su Yan's face seemed to have gained a touch of coldness, the ice in her pair of beautiful eyes becoming even more intense than before. Only when she looked at Yang Kai would she do so. This kind of coldness would turn into gentleness. Taking a hairpin from Su Yan, Yang Kai inserted it into her hair. Unlike her usual girly appearance, Su Yan's hair was tied up behind her head, revealing her smooth white neck. This was a hairstyle that only women would have. Beautiful! Yang Kai praised. Do you like it? Yang Kai answered as he stretched out his hands and placed them on Su Yan's shoulders. Although they had already had skin-to-skin contact, when facing Su Yan, he still felt a faint sense of nervousness. This was the feeling that Su Yan gave him before, and he was afraid that it would not disappear in a short time. After testing for a while, Su Yan did not move, so Yang Kai slowly slid his hands down. In the mirror, Su Yan's mouth showed a reproachful smile. Just as Yang Kai's hands were about to reach the peak, she grabbed hold of his hands. Su Yan. Yang Kai leaned over and kissed her earlobes. He found that this place of Su Yan's was very sensitive. It was a forbidden area, a place that could not be touched. Don't. Su Yan dodged in a panic. She knew that once she was kissed by Yang Kai, she would definitely become powerless again, so she hurriedly said, "Let's talk business first." Business? Good. Yang Kai restrained his frivolous expression and sat down beside her. Su Yan used one hand to stroke the face of the man who had taken away her body, her eyes somewhat blurred. After staring at him for a long time, she asked, "How old are you this year?" Yang Kai sniffed, 20. His expression was somewhat unnatural. His eyes drifted, and after saying this, he added, "I'm not lying to you." Su Yan looked at him with a faint smile, not saying anything. Yang Kai suddenly felt like he was sitting on pins and needles, his whole body uneasy. After a while, he helplessly whispered, 15, almost 16. "I'm 20. I'm older than you. You have to listen to me in the future. I'll listen to you for small things, but listen to me for big things." Yang Kai grinned. Su Yan sighed deeply. Her expression was full of love and tolerance, her delicate jade-like hands stopping on Yang Kai's face. "You're too young, it's not good for you to experience this so early. Age is not an issue." Yang Kai raised his eyes to look at her, his eyebrows twitching as he meaningfully said, "You've also experienced it." Su Yan blushed and glared at him. "Don't tease me like this." Yang Kai helplessly said, "You're thinking the wrong way. You're not allowed to always think about that kind of thing in the future." Yang Kai immediately hung his head dejectedly, as if his soul had left his body. Seeing him like this, Su Yan's cold heart suddenly softened, and she softly said, "If you promise me that you won't think about that kind of thing and won't delay your cultivation, I'll come find you once a month. How about 5 times? Yang Kai began to bargain. Su Yan pretended to be cold as she looked at him, not saying anything. Then 4 times, 3 times, okay, 2 times should be fine, right? Okay, once it is. Yang Kai agreed verbally, thinking that when the time comes, it won't be up to you. As long as I touch your delicate earlobe, won't you be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? It's not that I want to restrict you, I also know that dual cultivation is good for both of us. But your body is too weak, wait until you grow a little bit, then after a few years I will definitely not ask you to do this. Su Yan's voice was very soft and gentle, just endure for a few years, okay? Her serious tone was like a plea. Yang Kai nodded heavily. He also knew that Su Yan was doing this for his own good. These past few years in High Heaven Pavilion had been very difficult, causing his body to be somewhat thin. Su Yan probably misunderstood. Also, you've only just broken through to the Qi transformation stage. I know this. Yang Kai didn't let her continue. Su Yan looked at him and nodded. It's good that you know. This realm is very special. It is the same for every cultivator. You must treat it with caution. As she spoke, Su Yan fumbled around her neck. A moment later she untied a jade pendant and put it around Yang Kai's neck. Chapter 158. Yang Kai looked down and found that the pendant was just a square piece of jade, but it was cool to the touch and had a calming effect. This is a piece of frigid ice jade essence. I've been wearing it since I was young. After so many years, it has absorbed a lot of my Zhenyuan. Keep it with you. At a critical moment, it will be useful in suppressing your Zhenyuan. Does this count as a token of love? Yang Kai looked at Su Yan and smiled. Su Yan's cheeks were red as she nodded gently. Hearing this, Yang Kai hurriedly searched his body, but after searching for a long time, he couldn't find anything useful. The most valuable things he had were the Soul Breaker All and the Yin-Yang Monster Ginseng. He couldn't give the Soul Breaker All, it was too evil, and it contained the old demon soul. Giving it to Su Yan would only harm her. The Yin-Yang Monster Ginseng was fine, but it was only a heaven and earth spirit treasure, so it didn't have the meaning of a token. He sniffed and said awkwardly, "I'll give you one in the future." Su Yan smiled. "The 9 Yin Yuan condensing you gave me is enough. You're the best." Yang Kai said sincerely, "Don't praise me. When you praise me, my heart starts beating so fast." Su Yan gasped for breath as she clutched her chest. After cultivating the joyous unification art, her ice heart technique had no effect on Yang Kai. It was as if he was her nemesis. Every word, every action, and every move he made affected her mind. Heh. Yang Kai laughed heartily. In this world, who could make a woman like Su Yan flustered? He was the only one. Life was like this, what more could he ask for? It could be said that if it wasn't for the opportunity in the Heaven's Cave inheritance, Yang Kai estimated that he and Su Yan wouldn't have much interaction in this life. There was no man in the entire Great Han Dynasty who could match her. Even Yang Kai himself didn't think that he was worthy of Su Yan. This was not belittling himself, but Su Yan was too cold and noble. What do you plan to do after leaving here? Su Yan calmed down and asked another question. What do you mean? The road ahead. Su Yan was like a responsible parent, thinking about things that Yang Kai would never consider. And our relationship. I don't understand. Yang Kai frowned. Make it clear. Su Yan smiled sweetly. Let's put it this way, I have thought of 2 paths for you. The first is to publicize our relationship. With my status and identity in the sect, as long as our relationship is publicized, you will definitely be nurtured by the sect. You won't have to worry about contribution points anymore. In the future, you can easily obtain martial skills, medicinal pills, and secret treasures. Are you testing me? Yang Kai smiled at Su Yan. The latter shook his head slowly. I'm serious. Yang Kai couldn't help but feel moved. He could imagine what kind of uproar it would cause in the sect if his relationship with Su Yan was made public. He and Su Yan, one on earth, one in heaven, they were originally an impossible pair. If they really appeared in front of the world, Yang Kai would naturally be envied, and Su Yan's situation would definitely not be any better. Without even mentioning the obstruction of his elders, even his fellow brothers and sisters would definitely spurn Su Yan's choice. Yang Kai hadn't expected that Su Yan would be able to face the gossip of the world so calmly. You don't need to feel any psychological burden. I'm just creating the conditions for my man to cultivate. Yang Kai recovered and said seriously, this proposal is very tempting, but it's not suitable for me. Su Yan seemed to know he would say this and looked at him indifferently, smiling lightly. Yang Kai clenched his hands and stared at his fists. I will rely on myself to fight for everything. Relying on you is not what I want. Su Yan smiled. Although I am a little sad to hear you say this, I am also very happy. Then you can only take the second path. Yang Kai smiled. Yes, I will grow as fast as possible. The second path was to rely on himself. I will wait for you to protect me. Su Yan said softly. It won't be long. Yang Kai picked up Su Yan's hand and kissed it. After a pause, he suddenly remembered something and raised his head. Su Yan, after leaving this place, I'm afraid you will be in trouble. Su Yan was puzzled. Yang Kai seriously analyzed. The disciples of the 3 sects came here for the inheritance. After killing the 9 monster beast, we activated the array and revealed the inheritance. The disciples of the 3 sects have 700 to 800 people, all of whom have climbed the endless stairs and experienced the test of cold and heat. Your strength is the strongest among the disciples of the three sects, and you also practice a cold attribute secret art. What do you think those people are thinking now? Su Yan was stunned. She was only thinking about Yang Kai and didn't think about what would happen to her. But after hearing Yang Kai's words, she suddenly realized, they will think that I have already obtained the inheritance. Yes, I think many people think so. Yang Kai nodded slightly. Su Yan smiled confidently, they can think whatever they want. Even if I didn't obtain the inheritance, I don't have to explain anything to them. It's best not to admit it. Don't admit it to anyone. This is a serious matter. I think the appearance of the Heaven's Cave inheritance will not only involve the three sects nearby. Hearing this, Su Yan became serious. She could ignore the experts of the three sects nearby, but she couldn't ignore the experts of the Dark Han dynasty. Once someone set their eyes on the inheritor, Su Yan would only be in trouble. She nodded heavily, I understand. She was relieved that the three sects would focus all their attention on her. This way, Yang Kai wouldn't be suspected. Everyone thought that the inheritance would only be obtained by one person, but they didn't expect that the inheritance would be shared by two people. She looked at Yang Kai with some admiration, you're thinking too far ahead. Yang Kai smiled bitterly, it's just that I'm used to seeing how those great forces act like a rare commodity and their methods of winning over others. Su Yan looked at him in a daze. His words were said with a sense of vicissitudes. She suddenly felt that this junior brother was a person with a lot of secrets. I'll tell you next time. Yang Kai patted Su Yan's hand. Yes, it's fine even if you don't tell me. Su Yan nodded. All right, let's go. There's nothing else here. Yang Kai stood up. This hall was very spacious. Other than the huge energy ball from before, there was nothing else. After the two of them obtained the inheritance, a light screen appeared. It should be able to teleport them out. Holding Su Yan's hand, Yang Kai plunged into the light screen. When the two figures disappeared from the hall, the Heaven's Cave inheritance suddenly emitted a cracking sound. It was like a mirror falling to the ground and smashing into pieces. Immediately, a crisscrossing crack appeared in the chaotic world. The disciples of the three sects who were still in the Heaven's Cave inheritance were scared out of their wits. They didn't know what was going on. Just as they were at a loss, an unknown energy wrapped around them and slowly floated into the sky. Since the opening of the Heaven's Cave inheritance, the experts of the three sects had been stationed here, anxiously waiting. Now, almost a month had passed. During this time, many disciples had come out of the Heaven's Cave inheritance one after another. These people were either injured and couldn't hold on any longer, or exhausted and didn't want to stay in there any longer. From their words, the experts of the three sects more or less understood the situation inside. Especially when some disciples appeared in the past few days, the experts of the three sects became more and more anxious. This was because they had received news that the inheritance had appeared, but they didn't know who would obtain it in the end. Every sect was looking forward to their own rising stars, but they were also worried about their own gains and losses. High Heaven Pavilion Su Yan and Xia Hong Chen, blood groups Hu Jiao Air and Long Jun, storm houses Fang Ziki, these were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. There was also that crazy old man's female disciple, High Heaven Pavilion's Xia Ningchang, who may also obtain the inheritance. However, that crazy old man was very carefree. After waiting for several days in the Heaven's Cave inheritance, he saw that his disciple hadn't come out, so he left alone. Until now, he hadn't appeared again. What an irresponsible master! The experts of the three sects silently criticized Meng Wuya. Because of the existence of the inheritance, there was a subtle hostility and competition between the experts of the three sects, especially the people of the blood group. These people criticized High Heaven Pavilion's and Storm House's robberies while cursing Meng Wuya's unreasonable behavior. If not for the latter's battle with the experts of the blood group, how could the existence of the Heaven's Cave inheritance be exposed so early? This was the wealth of the blood group, but now, the other two sects had forcefully interfered. Although there were compensations, What was that little bit of compensation in front of the inheritance of a powerhouse? Damn it. These days, whom man cursed until his lips bled. He didn't dare to curse Meng Wuya, so he cursed Long Zai Tian and Long Hui. If not for that little bastard provoking Meng Wuya, how could there be so many troubles now? Die, it's good that you died. If you didn't die early, your father, would have cut you into thousands of pieces. Long family is nothing. Not only did Human not like the Long family, but the other experts of the blood group were also full of resentment because of this matter. Long Zai Tian knew that he was in the wrong, and a month ago he was seriously injured by Meng Wuya. During this time, he didn't dare to show his face in the mining area and only stayed in the blood group to heal. However, the death of his little grandson, how could this hatred be so easily resolved? Sooner or later, I will make you pay with your blood. Long Zai Tian, whose strength had dropped greatly, secretly hardened his heart. While the experts of the three sects were anxiously waiting, the light curtain of the Heaven's Cave inheritance suddenly trembled, as if a stone was thrown into a calm lake, creating layers of ripples. In the next moment, the light curtain collapsed like a bubble, directly disappearing, revealing the mineral vein below the big pit. Where are the people? Human suddenly became anxious. The entrance of the Heaven's Cave inheritance disappeared, but the disciples of the three sects did not appear. His two daughters were still inside. Where did they go? Not only was Human anxious, but the other experts were also anxious. The younger generation of elite disciples had all entered the Heaven's Cave inheritance, but now, not a single one had appeared. While they were worried, not far away, there was a scream of pain. An elder of the Storm House's complexion changed, and he quickly rushed over. Chapter 159. When the elder returned, he was accompanied by a wounded disciple of Storm House. Under the questioning of Xiao Rua Han and the other experts of Storm House, the disciple narrated what had just happened. Not long after, the experts of Blood Group and High Heaven Pavilion also found some disciples of their respective sects nearby. The three parties confirmed and could not help but sigh in relief. They found that the disciples who had entered the Black Wind Forest had already come out, but they were scattered to various corners of the Black Wind Forest. Although they did not know why this happened, everyone felt that this should be the protection of the owner of the Heaven's Cave inheritance. As a result, no one knew who had obtained the inheritance. The experts of the three sects were busy, shuttling back and forth in the Black Wind Forest, looking for the disciples of their respective sects and properly arranging them. The attitude of the experts towards these disciples was very careful, cautious, and much more amiable than before. Because they did not know whether these disciples, who were only at the initial element realm, would in the future grow up to be respected by the people of the world. Even the leader of the bloody battle gang, Human, who had the most violent temperament, was greeting each and every one of the returning disciples with a smile on his face. From arrogance to deference, he kept praising them, saying that they had done a good job and that they would be the pillars of the gang in the future. The disciples of the blood group almost collapsed. They did not know what the master of the blood group was thinking. But there were still many disciples who were moved to tears, on the spot shouting to express their loyalty, pledging to follow the master of the blood group, dedicating their lives to the blood group, willing to sacrifice their lives for the blood group. Human laughed even more heartily. For him, even if these disciples did not obtain the inheritance, they were still worthy of being roped in. Because each of them had more or less obtained some benefits. The experts of Storm House and High Heaven Pavilion were naturally aware of this point. They despised Human's hypocrisy, but at the same time, they had no choice but to put aside their pride and ask about the well-being of the returning disciples. The work of gathering the disciples continued for half a day. Many of them directly returned to their sects without being found by their elders. This made the situation of Yang Kai and Su Yan much better. Of course, Su Yan was destined to be suspected. This was something that no one could change. At this moment, Yang Kai and Su Yan, they were currently standing somewhere in Black Wind Mountain. After the two of them stepped through the door of light, they arrived here. Su Yan wasn't very familiar with this place, but Yang Kai had run around Black Wind Mountain quite a few times. He was much stronger than her. After searching for a long time, he finally found the right path. Black Plum Village is just 50 li away from here. Standing on a small hill, Yang Kai pointed in a certain direction and said to Su Yen, "Let's split up, we can't go back together." Su Yen hesitated for a moment before saying. Since he was going to be suspected, he couldn't expose Yang Kai. "Yes," Yang Kai nodded. "You go back first, there must be a lot of people looking for you now. If you return late, it will only confirm their suspicions. Remember, no matter who asks, do not admit that you have obtained the inheritance." "I know. Take care of yourself. Come back as soon as possible," Su Yen exhorted before turning around to leave, but was pulled back by Yang Kai. "What's wrong?" Just as Su Yan's words left her mouth, a scorching hot breath rushed towards her and hugged her tightly, blocking her mouth. A whimpering sound could be heard. Su Yen softened once again. After a long time, Yang Kai laughed and let go of her. "Remember what you said. Come find me once a month." Yang Kai said. Su Yen nodded gently. The two said goodbye, although they knew that they were in the same sect. But there was always a feeling of reluctance. After waiting for a long time, Su Yen stomped her feet and gritted her teeth. "I'm going." As soon as her voice fell, she quickly left, leaving behind a pure white figure. Watching her disappear from sight, Yang Kai smiled and shook his head, leisurely walking in the direction of High Heaven Pavilion. Heaven's Cave Inheritance. Yang Kai felt that his biggest gain this time was not the inheritance, but Su Yen. A few hours later, Yang Kai slowly returned to High Heaven Pavilion. At this time, the pavilion's disciples and masters had already returned, but there were still some people returning, so Yang Kai didn't attract anyone's attention. However, he discovered a strange phenomenon. When he walked in the pavilion, those senior brothers and junior brothers he didn't know were all very polite to him. Although they didn't come over to greet him, they would still cup their fists from afar and greet him with a smile on their faces. Among them, there was even a High Heaven Pavilion deacon. Thinking about it carefully, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel relieved. Those who could return alive from Heaven's Cave Inheritance may have a promising future, so how could they ignore him like before? If they greeted him now, they could become friends in the future. Returning to the small wooden house, before Yang Kai had time to organize his thoughts, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps outside the door. Just as he was thinking about who would come, Sassafras's face appeared. Seeing Yang Kai, Sassafras couldn't help but feel relieved. "Brother Yang, you also returned safely." Yang Kai felt a burst of warmth in his heart, got up and said, "Junior brother, come in and sit." "No need, I just came to see if you were okay." Saying so, Sassafras showed a sly smile. "I still have to go back and cultivate, huh?" With a long laugh, Sassafras disappeared. Yang Kai was stunned, suddenly remembering that he didn't see Sassafras at the endless stairs. Where did he go at that time? The beast soul cloud opening array made such a big commotion, it was impossible for him not to see it. Unless he had something else to do at that time. Thinking about how proud Sassafras was just now, Yang Kai couldn't help but smile slightly. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who received the inheritance. Sassafras, this kid, was pretty lucky. Sassafras left, and before Yang Kai could sit down, footsteps came from outside the door again, but this time, the footsteps were very light, and it sounded like a woman's. Yang Kai's heart skipped a beat, and just as he was hesitating, a green figure flashed through the door. "Little senior sister?" Yang Kai saw the person's face clearly, and a smile appeared on his face. His wooden house was quite lively today. Sassafras was here, so was Xia Ningchang, and Yang Kai didn't see her in the Cave of Inheritance. Speaking of which, ever since he came back from the Nine-Yin Valley, she hadn't looked for him. "Junior brother." Xia Ningchang saw Yang Kai, and just like Sassafras, she sighed in relief. She didn't stand on ceremony, and directly walked in. "You're back." "Yes, I just came back." Yang Kai nodded. "I heard that you also entered the Heaven's Cave Inheritance, but I couldn't find you." Xia Ningchang was still as shy as usual, and after a few sentences her ears turned red. "I saw you enter that day, Treasurer Meng was so majestic." Yang Kai recalled Meng Wuya's domineering and arrogant attitude that day, and felt a little strange. Yes, master, let me in. All right, I found some yang inflammation stones there, and I made some pills for you. Xia Ningchang took out a bottle and handed it over. You need this for your cultivation technique, right? Yang Kai smiled and reached out to take it. Thank you. Xia Ningchang lightly shook her head. No need. Do you want to sit down and rest for a while? No, I just came to take a look. Xia Ningchang hurriedly waved her hand. She really didn't dare to stay with a man and a woman alone. I'm leaving, you rest well. Yang Kai didn't urge her to stay. You rest well too, don't tire yourself out. Xia Ningchang pursed her lips and smiled, her eyes filled with satisfaction. She turned around, and when she reached the door, she paused, as if she wanted to turn around and ask something, but after hesitating for a long time, she still couldn't muster up the courage to leave. What happened in the Nine Yin Valley last time was still vivid in her mind. Xia Ningchang could often recall that deep and mesmerizing kiss in her dreams at night. Every time she recalled it, it was as if a lively deer was in her heart, and she couldn't calm down for a long time, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. It was that kiss that left a bloody figure in her heart forever. The feelings in her heart made her even more shy and flustered in front of Yang Kai, but she didn't dare to point it out. Watching Xia Ningchang leave, Yang Kai held the bottle in his hand, his heart filled with warmth. The night passed silently. On the first night of returning to Sky Tower, Yang Kai didn't do anything but sleep peacefully. The next day, he went to Black Wind Trade to purchase some 3-leaved chaos spirit flowers and dead Jedi tree grass. He wanted to buy them the last time he came, but the appearance of Heaven's Cave Inheritance in the end disrupted his plans. After the matter of the Heaven's Cave Inheritance, the Black Wind Trade market didn't become much quieter. Instead, it became even more lively. The disciples of the 3 sects were all competing to discuss the various fortuitous encounters and opportunities in the Heaven's Cave Inheritance, as well as the 9 powerful demonic beasts and the final endless staircase. Most people didn't have the chance to enter Heaven's Cave Inheritance, so naturally they were listening with great interest. Suyin didn't stay in Black Wind Trade. She was currently in the limelight, so it wasn't suitable for her to leave Sky Tower. Everyone's eyes were focused on her, wanting to know if she had obtained the true inheritance. Yang Kai bought the herbs and tools he needed, and directly left Black Wind Trade. Returning to Sky Tower, Yang Kai went to the Coiling Dragon Stream. The 3 Suns fruit tree where he usually meditated was still swaying in the wind. Maybe in a few years it would bloom again, but that was destined to be a distant matter. Yang Kai rubbed his hands. He wanted to do something he had always wanted to do, but at that time his strength was too low, so it wasn't convenient for him to do it. Now that he had reached the Qi transforming stage, he finally had some capital. Finding a huge rock nearby, he tied it with the rope he bought. Using the rope, Yang Kai slowly descended to the bottom of the Coiling Dragon Stream. He didn't know what kind of treasure was at the bottom of the Coiling Dragon Stream, but it allowed Yang Kai to absorb Yang Qi to cultivate. But no matter what kind of treasure it was, the deeper he went, the stronger the Yang Qi would become. Yang Kai didn't have a big appetite. He didn't want to go deep into the Coiling Dragon Stream to find the treasure. After all, the 11th Elder had sternly warned him not to go too deep, because even he would be in danger. That mysterious 11th Elder was at least an immortal ascension boundary master. The danger he felt was enough to consign Yang Kai to eternal damnation and shatter his bones. Chapter 160. Yang Kai just wanted to go down a bit more and absorb more Yang Qi for his cultivation. Moreover, beside the Coiling Dragon Stream, the astral winds howled and the cultivation environment was really unbearable. If he could open up a hole in the cliff, he could avoid the pain of being exposed to the wind and sun. Putting together the rope he had bought, it was enough to support Kai Yang sliding down 1,000 feet. When he reached his limit, Yang Kai looked down, but the Coiling Dragon Stream was still so deep that he couldn't see the bottom. He couldn't clearly see the situation below. His heart shivered, thinking that if the rope broke at this time, but the Yang Qi here was indeed much richer than above. Yang Kai was very satisfied. Looking around for a moment, he carefully knocked on the nearby rock wall and found a good spot. There was an ancient pine tree growing diagonally on the cliff. The dense pine leaves were like a huge umbrella. If he opened up a space under the ancient pine tree, this tree could shelter him from the wind and rain. It was a natural advantage. Making up his mind, Yang Kai forced out a drop of yang liquid from the dantian and condensed it at his fingertip, turning it into a blade and cutting into the rock wall in front of him. There wasn't much resistance. The sharpness of the yang liquid blade didn't disappoint Yang Kai's expectations, directly cutting through a rock. When Yang Kai was at the initial element boundary third stage, the blade formed from yang liquid could destroy a common-grade mid-rank defensive artifact. Now that Yang Kai's strength had increased by a lot, cutting through the rock was naturally easy. There wasn't much yang liquid left in the dantian. Most of the yang liquid he obtained in the Heaven's Cave inheritance had been used up when he dual cultivated with Su Yen, so now he only had 4 or 5 drops left. After consuming 3 full drops of yang liquid, Yang Kai cut a hole in the rock wall in front of him that could accommodate one person and entered the hole. Yang Kai continued to cut, throwing the cut stones into the coiling dragon stream. After a long time, the sound of stones falling to the ground came from the coiling dragon stream. From this sound, Yang Kai could roughly estimate the depth of the coiling dragon stream. Calculating in his heart, he was secretly speechless. This coiling dragon stream was probably more than 10,000 meters deep. After half a day, the cave had expanded a lot, and the yang liquid in the dantian was also used up. Without yang liquid, Yang Kai couldn't continue to open the cave with his own strength. Taking out a bottle from her bosom, this was the bottle that Xia Ningchang had given to Kai Yang yesterday. Thinking of that little senior sister, Yang Kai felt a burst of guilt. Fortunately, he didn't do too much that night in the 9-in mountain valley. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how to face. He ate a few pills. After condensing some yang liquid, he continued to open up his own cave. While doing this, Kai Yang was filled with energy and excitement, not feeling the slightest bit tired. Looking at the gradually expanding cave, Kai Yang had the feeling of a master opening up his own secret cave mansion. A few days later, Yang Kai worked hard in the cave. When he ran out of yang liquid, he would use the pills refined by Xia Ningchang to replenish it. When he was thirsty, he would drink the morning dew from the pine trees, so he wasn't hungry. When one's strength reached the qi transformation stage, it was fine to not eat for a month, but after a long time, one would still need to replenish. 7 days later, the cave could be considered to be completed. Yang Kai stood in the cave, looking at his masterpiece. He felt a sense of satisfaction. He laughed foolishly. Today's cave was twice as big as Yang Kai's wooden house. The closest place to the outside was the place where he cultivated. Sitting at the entrance of the cave, he couldn't feel the whistling wind under the coiling dragon stream. He could only hear the whimper of the wind. Compared to cultivating at the top, the environment was much better. Facing the entrance, there was a small stone room on the left. It wasn't very big and was where Yang Kai prepared to store his things. The 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flower and Dead Jedi Tree Grass he bought from Black Wind Trade were stored inside. The stone room on the right was slightly larger and was used as a resting area. Inside it was a stone bed that Yang Kai had carved out for himself. The bed was smooth and flat. Yang Kai had carefully polished it for a long time, so even if he slept on it, he wouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. For some reason, Yang Kai cut the stone bed to be very big. It was enough to accommodate 2 to 3 people tossing and turning on it. Cough cough. It's better to be prepared, Yang Kai thought. There was another stone room in the middle. It was empty, but he didn't know what to put it in. This was Yang Kai's cave. Although it was simple, it was very warm inside. Compared to the wooden house, it was even more enjoyable. Generally, no one would come to the coiling dragon stream. In the future, if he had something that was inconvenient to carry, he could store it here without worrying about being found. Thinking about it, Yang Kai climbed up the rope. Along the way, he cut out a place where he could borrow strength. This way, in the future, he wouldn't need to rely on the rope to enter and exit the cave. It would also save him the worry of being found by someone following the rope. Untying the rope around the big stone, Yang Kai returned to the cave. After spending so many days, he had finally created a cultivation place that belonged to him. This kind of cultivation environment was much better than any of the other High Heaven Pavilion disciples. Not in a hurry to cultivate, Yang Kai just sat cross-legged at the entrance of the cave, enjoying the tranquil warmth. Suddenly remembering something, he reached into his chest and took it out. Yin-Yang Monster Ginseng. This was a spiritual world spirit treasure. Since it was taken by Yang Kai, it had always been in his bosom. It didn't try to escape, nor did it struggle. At this moment, when he took it out, the human face on this world spirit treasure seemed to be smiling at Yang Kai. The old demon had said that this kind of thing could only grow in a strange place where yin and yang qi coexisted. Previously, Yang Kai didn't know why the Heaven's Cave inheritance had a yin-yang monster ginseng, but after obtaining the inheritance, he understood everything. That place was where the yin-yang joyous unification arts inheritance lay, so it naturally made sense for this world spirit treasure to grow. Reaching out, Yang Kai dripped a drop of yang liquid into the yin-yang monster ginseng's body. In an instant, it absorbed the yang liquid, and its expression became more and more pleasant. With a flash of light, the yin-yang monster ginseng flew out of Yang Kai's hand and curiously wandered around the simple cave mansion. Not long after, it found a place on its own, twisted its body, and took root, a look of enjoyment on its face. Along with the dense light, Yang Kai clearly felt that the yang qi below the coiling dragon stream was being continuously absorbed by it. Even the yang qi around him was becoming richer. It actually has such an effect. Yang Kai was shocked. With a thought, he undid the seal on the soul breaker all. The old demon's respectful voice immediately sounded, "Old servant greets young master. Take a look at this yin-yang monster ginseng. What's the use?" Yang Kai asked. The old demon said, "This thing is born by absorbing yin and yang qi. This place is rich in yang qi, so it is a suitable environment for it to grow. However, if you're talking to me, don't beat around the bush," Yang Kai coldly snorted. The old demon trembled when he heard this. Although he had only known Yang Kai for a short time, he was really afraid of him. He had repeatedly sealed his soul inside the soul breaker all and punished him at every turn. The old demon had seen Yang Kai's decisiveness and ruthlessness, so he quickly said, "After all, it needs to absorb yin and yang qi. There is only yang qi in this place, so there is no need to worry too much about it in the short term, but as time passes, not only will it not grow, it may even wilt. For it, a solitary yang cannot grow, and a solitary yin cannot grow. This is the yin-yang monster ginseng. It lacks yin qi, doesn't it?" Yang Kai asked. Young master's words are correct. This was easy to deal with. He could just ask Su Yan to come and give it some yuan qi, then it should be able to solve this problem. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Kai asked with a strange expression, "Previously, if it met a man and woman who were of the same mind, when they were in love with each other, it would automatically split into two kinds of energy and disperse into the man and woman's body, right?" "Yes," the old demon replied, then was surprised. "Young master, you cough?" Before being sealed, Yang Kai was still a child, but after seeing Yang Kai this time, the old demon discovered that he had actually lost the innate pure yang qi that he had been born with. This was clearly the result of having close contact with a woman. "Who allowed you to spy on me?" Yang Kai coldly said. "Young master, please forgive old servant, I was only curious. I won't dare in the future." "It's best if there is no next time," Yang Kai faintly reminded. Frowning, Yang Kai thought about a lot of things. Although he didn't know the origins of the old demon, he was very knowledgeable and knew a lot about the yin-yang monster ginseng, so what he said shouldn't be a lie. In that hall, when he and Su Yan were in love with each other, the yin-yang monster ginseng was nearby. However, it didn't transform into energy and integrate into his and Su Yan's bodies to bind them together. As such, there was only one explanation, and that was that the feelings between him and Su Yan had not yet reached the point of being of the same mind. Yang Kai could understand this. Although the two of them were already husband and wife, that was done under the guidance of the inheritance, not their own free will. If he really thought about it, If he didn't have the yin-yang joyous unification art, Su Yan would probably hate him for taking her virginity. Even if she didn't hate him, she wouldn't have any good feelings towards him, so how could they possibly be of the same mind? Su Yan hadn't completely opened her heart, and the same was true for Yang Kai. Even if he felt close to her now, he was willing to give up everything for her, including his life, but all of this was the result of the yin-yang monster ginseng art's special effects. The love between a man and a woman was not something that could be cultivated overnight, nor could it be cultivated through a set of secret arts. One day, even without the yin-yang monster ginseng art, the two of them would still treat each other as the most important person in their lives, and only then would they truly be of the same mind. The old demon's somewhat frivolous voice sounded, "Young master need not be discouraged. Old servant feels that women are generally very easy to coax. Since young master has already obtained their bodies, sooner or later, you will also capture their hearts, this old servant can guarantee with his life." "Didn't you die a long time ago?" Yang Kai chuckled. When old demon saw that Yang Kai wasn't annoyed, his courage grew a lot and he smiled. Yes, young master is right. Old servant swears with his soul that women will always have a special feeling for their first man. Young master only needs to use a little bit of skill to make them completely devoted to you. When that time comes, this yin-yang monster ginseng will be able to play a huge role. Old demon nodded. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.